The anger, a lesson of a man learning it the hard way. I have been visiting this site for a while now and I finally got enough courage to post, so here goes. Been together for a total of 5 years, married for 3.5. Our marriage was a fairy tale. It was great. We were best friends. Bonding was okay. At least for me it was. Since my wife isn't very physical, it bothered me. But I learned to live with it and enjoy bonding with her. Well, in our 3rd year mark, all of a sudden, she wanted to separate and she just started a new job. I had my suspicion, but I fought not to separate and we didn't. This was in February. Everything was relatively going well. We went on trips. We were living our adventure. Then in April, just out of the blue, I tried to initiate and she stopped cold in her tracks and said, "Do you really want to?" She has been acting cold and distant at this point. That's when she said, "I lost the spark. We need to separate." So, we did. I left because my parents' house was not that far from my work and she works 2 miles. So, I left. After about a week, I moved back in and everything seems fine. A week later she started getting distant again, coming home late, not answering her phone when calling. I confronted her and all she said was she was done and our marriage was over. So fast forward 3 months later. We live in different places but we have remained in contact with one another. I am also a Christian and believe in the sanctity of marriage. I know I haven't been the perfect husband either. I work a super stressful job and at times took it home and took it out on her. I've seen the error of my ways and know I can be better and love her better. She did have an emotional affair with someone and I found out and told the other man's wife and told friends, family, etc. She was pissed. I'm still in contact with the other man's wife and she said they are working it out and there has been no contact with both of them from what she knows. Other man was a coward. The second he was revealed, he swiveled, cried and begged to work it out with his wife. Unfortunately, my wife is still wayward, but we do talk quite a bit, get together for dinner, etc. Though it seems I'm the only one that truly wants to save this marriage. Sorry for the long story. I guess I'm asking for advice from anyone that has gone through something similar. I want to fight and save my marriage. As a Christian husband, I feel that is the right thing to do. But I guess I'm at a loss. Do I continue pursuing? Or do I just back off and leave her alone and see if she wants to eventually come around? Divorce papers have already been filed, but that also doesn't mean my marriage is over. I'm definitely doing the 180. I've lost over 20 pounds in 3 months. I feel good, look good if I say so myself, lol, and spent some money on some new wardrobe. I've asked out a couple times. Of course I've said no since I am still married. A couple times it's like I wanted to literally be with someone just to spite her. But that's just my anger speaking. But I get it. I don't want to be a doormat either. But I just don't want to walk away so easily and regret not at least trying to fight for the little strand, if any, left in my marriage. I have a friend that went through a divorce and his only biggest regret is he gave up way too soon and wished he would have fought to the very end. But I understand the begging, etc. I used to do that in the beginning. I don't anymore. But I do send her texts here and there that I still care and want to work in our marriage. Maybe that isn't so smart to do either. I think I need to add she is also only 23. Yeah, she is young, I get that too. The only regret I have is that I married her young. I am 30. I have been nice in every way, calling her, telling her I love her, telling her I'm here when she is ready, etc. Dang, the more I think about this, the angrier I get. I know there is a difference in being a Christian husband and a dang doormat, and I think that is what I am becoming. I don't think even after we have been separated, she actually truly knows what life is without me, since I am always there. The problem is she is a believer, I guess, to some degree, as she is willing to give up her faith to do whatever she wants. But from my own understanding, she only had a EA and nothing more, and I did the whole detective thing and gathered evidence, etc. At least for now there has not been any signs of a PIA, and the EA is completely done. But I guess from talking with the mother-in-law, she is not over the other man. She still thinks she is in love with him and can't get over him. Yeah, sucks. When she started getting really distant was back on Feb, and that was when she kind of started her new job, and that is where the EA started. But when we separated for good up to now was in May. And the other man's wife confirmed, as the other man is now being transparent, and she sees when they first talked as if they wanted to be together was in May. But I'm sure the flirting started in Feb. And May was when they decided to let feelings out. This makes me sick to my stomach. Maybe I'm just in denial. And also, I come from a family where I have seen worse situations, and their marriages were restored due to one person truly having faith. My mom is one of them, and my aunts. I know that's their story and not mine. I shouldn't be a doormat, which I have been. But I also understand that ultimately I'm the one that will live with the regret if I don't do whatever I can in my part to try to save this marriage. I mean, she can do whatever she wants, but I need to do what I can. I will try to definitely not be a doormat. But I know one day, I don't know when, she will wake up and regret her actions. She even admitted that she just said she can live with regret. Kind of immature and stupid if you ask me. But as for me, if I can avoid regret, especially as something as important as saving my marriage, I will do what it takes. She told me she filed, but it doesn't mean anything. I can still change my mind. She said, "I have your number." Then I proceeded to ask her, "Are you ready for me to be completely out of your life?" And she said no and some other excuses. Wow, I come to realize I am dealing with a selfish child. I don't even know this woman anymore. This is not the woman I married. The more I think about the affair, and the more I think about how she has been acting this whole time with no regard about anything or anyone, it actually angers me, and the NC might be easier to do. She was the one that had an affair. She's the one calling the shots. She has not once apologized yet for doing that. She said sorry for hurting me, but that's it. Up until now I am the bad guy because I blew her affair out the window. I know I should go no contact, but I'm still hoping. Call me stupid, but I am. I guess it's because I've seen so many marriages restored that was worse than mine. Granted, might not be my story, but I guess it would be different if I was around failed marriages within my family and friends, and that is not the case. My friend was served. He responded, and they even showed up at the hearing. He even had a restraining order on him. Well, to cut a long, painful story short, they have reconciled, and I talk to him daily. They love each other. And yes, the wife was the one that went crazy. I guess there is always hope, but I do definitely need to take care of myself. Doing the 180 is a def must, and NC is not such a bad idea. It's not like she doesn't know where I live. If she truly wants to work things out, I only live 20 miles from her. This has also been going on now for about 3 months. I am finally but slowly getting the reins back and crawling out of the dark, painful cave I was living in. Even though the pain is not totally gone. Because whether or not she is running and being stupid, I have to be honest, I still love her. But it is definitely getting easier every day. Even her mother told me the other day, she doesn't see the spark in her daughter's eyes that she uses to have. My wife is skinny already, and she lost an additional 10 pounds. She lives in a room with a strange old lady, and she told me she hates her life right now. I don't get it. I just don't get it. And honestly, up to now I still don't know what went wrong in our marriage in terms of why she did what she did. I asked her flat out one time, what went wrong? What did you feel was missing? What did I do wrong? She spoke. She doesn't know and doesn't have a grand answer for me. My take is when the real issues of marriage came around, it was too much for her to handle. Being young and immature, she probably thought it was going to be flowers and roses and a fairy tale always. She really isn't asking for anything. And to be honest, to show how young and immature she is, she has no idea what she was doing. She still doesn't. She was like, wait, we have to go to court. A judge has to finalize this. Are you serious? I know she is my wife, not my child. But there is a part of me seeing my wife destroy not just our marriage, but all of our friends' ties and family ties, and ultimately herself, and it breaks my heart. Just a little update. She sent me a text message, because new medical ID cards came in the mail. Technically she is still under my insurance, so I wanted to give it to her. Well, the text messages turned ugly really quick. More so me, because I guess this whole time, I never really voiced my anger. So, it's been building up. I pretty much let her know that I hope she was happy with her decision and she enjoys living knowing she destroyed her marriage so quickly and that she caused pain to my family and hers. Then she responded back, how nice and loving I was, and she couldn't wait to come running back to me, obviously sarcastically. That really pissed me off. After all she has done, she had the nerve to say that. 2 weeks later, I have had no contact with her for about 2 weeks now. I was wondering if anyone has any advice on when I should contact her again and hopefully attempt to reconcile. I know there is not any magic numbers. A month later, last time we talked, she said, I don't love you anymore and you deserve someone that does. I was hurt and angry, so I took her for her word and I started dating. I know I am technically still married, so I just feel uber confused. I guess I'm asking anyone has or been in a similar boat. Did you date while separated knowing your marriage is over? I know a part of me is dating because I guess I'm kind of using it to hopefully help me get over my STBX. I guess a part of me is wanting revenge, because I know she is dating and had an affair, that is why she wanted out. I know 2 wrongs don't make a right, but I am having a blast meeting and dating these women. I guess when it comes down to it, I haven't really been myself, and I too am in a fog, per se, but the other way around. The one in shock about my marriage being over, the hurt, the pain, and the betrayal. Doing some stuff to spite her and trying to find ways to move on. I guess I'm trying everything at this point. My comment, it took almost half a year for OP to learn not to be a doormat. Once he started dating other women, he realizes that the pain was not worth it. I hope some viewers who are hoping for R can learn something from this OP. Story 2. November 28th was Dee Dee for me. Daughter of the other man, a former pastor of ours, informed me of her dad and my wife's close friendship she thought was an affair. Wife denied it at first and then admitted to it being the only, which turned out to be a lie. They met up in Vegas last year and spent 2 nights together. She chose to stay with me, but I found out in April the affair had only gone underground. Did not realize how close to divorcing me my wife was. I gave her my ring back and told her it was over. She begged me for another chance and wrote the NC letter. And then promptly emailed the other man to tell him she loved him. Her heart was breaking. And I made her write it. We have been in counseling the whole time. My wife suffered excruciating pain the last several years from degenerative discs in her back. Lots of meds, premenopause, empty nest syndrome. Her perfect storm, I suppose, but I make no excuses for her actions. For my part, I have been an obsessed workaholic for years now, and a pretty negative, distant husband at times. She now leaves the phone where I can see it, has given me access to her Facebook and email accounts. Our bonding life is slowing, rekindling as much as she can after her spinal fusion in February. She tells me things I have not heard in years about how much she needs me, sends me songs at work, and we chat during the day on FB and text. This guy, our former pastor, had his hooks in deep, had my wife almost convinced to leave me to join him in our old hometown, as if that was going to work out with no problems. That may seem a little scattered, and I can fill in relevant details for any questions asked, but to get to the point, here is my question. My wife is very good with computers and knows, at least in the past, I am not. I have become quite adept at them over the last 6 months. I have seen many emails she thought were deleted, and many videos and pictures she thought the same about. But in the end, how do I know he's gone and will stay gone? I would contact his wife, but she is terminal with Alzheimer's. Contacting his kids, even though they are in their 30s, seems rash to me if it is over. But they have been lied to as well. I don't want revenge, except possibly to tell him of the other online affair my wife had going at the same time with an ex-boyfriend of hers, Skype calls, and texting back and forth. My thought process is that it would terminate any romantic link he has for her. I just want my marriage back and him gone. Forever. It occurs to me that with all the lies and cover-ups my wife has thrown at me, that I may just be stuck in discovery mode. I want that to be over, but how can I be sure? Ever. Some details that might help. He lives over 12 miles away, so moving really doesn't seem needed. Will keyloggers show up on computer? I can't seem to get a definitive answer. I am really trying to be a Christian here and forgive. Our counselor in private has told me perhaps I should expose the affair details to his kids. But in the end, she told me that it had many risks for and against. It hurts to realize the truth that my wife has lied to me all this time, and even after I found out. I hear the axiom used over and over: once a cheater, always a cheater, but I really think through all my research my wife just got caught up in something attractive and secret and couldn't stop. She has always had many guy friends and what I term an addiction to online gaming and the internet in general. With the new smartphones, how am I supposed to keep tabs on it all? In the end, it's her choice. I just want to know so I can leave if it strikes up again. I am fully committed to saving my marriage, but not being taken for a ride again. Not sure about cereal, but I cannot rule it out. There are multitudes of affairs in her family. Seems she grew up with that as her example. I am sure exposing the former pastor to the truth about her doings with the former boyfriend would grenade him, but it also might make him contact her. I should add that DD version 2 was April 27, so things are still fresh and raw for me. She says it is over, and I know my wife is a good and giving person. I think she needed to be needed, and the kids leaving the house and me engrossed in work and night school left her without that feeling of being needed. The pastor was our friend, and he needed someone, and so the affair evolved. I really want to believe her after 10 years of marriage. We are making plans to renew our vows this summer on our 10-year anniversary. But part of me looks at all the times she has lied right to me and me never knew, and tells me it may have just went deeper underground, or it may be over. I'm so up and down from day to day it's unreal. I reached the point of divorce in April when I discovered it was still going on. I have always taken my vows seriously, and I am a man of faith. I have never so much as looked at another woman, much less allowed anything in our marriage to lead my wife to believe there was another woman. After many hours of discussion, mostly heated on my part, I made the choice to stay. I knew full well then that it would take a lot for me to trust her again, but in my eyes, she is worth the effort. Her back surgery did not leave her crippled. In fact, she is out of pain most days, and in physical therapy to return range of motion and strength. She is at home mowing the lawn right now, so her prospects of being 90% healed post-operation are good. I guess more along the lines of advice I was looking for were methods to trust, but also methods and ideas to check. I hate to say this is the life I have chosen, but it is, and I accept that. He used to be her boss when we lived there for about 4 years. His wife was a friend of my wife's, and when she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. My wife's family has had many members with this disease. I think it pair bonded the two of them. I do owe his daughter a debt I cannot repay. She helped derail the affair before my wife moved out. However, she has a tendency to run off at the mouth at church and in the community. My entire family lives in the same small town. People talk, see where I am going. I have a copy of the lie-filled letter he wrote them before Christmas when they banned him from Christmas dinner. I feel like redlining it and sending it to them, just so that they can know the truth. He ends the letter saying he has done nothing wrong, and they should respect him as their father and a loving husband to his passing wife. I almost vomited when I read it. The past is the past. It can't hurt us if we deal with it, and we have. It's the present that concerns me, and the future. I hate to sound like I don't trust her, because I have always blindly trusted her. But the reality is I don't for now, and we are working on it for both our parts. I just don't know how to live a life checking on her, as I never have. Jesus, that sounds bad, But the reality is, for me, I am here as long as it is just her and I. If the relationship rekindles, I am gone, and I have told her that. She seems very convinced it will not. I have never asked why she seems so convinced of that. The smartphone definitely gives me anxiety. I know very little about them. I carry a BlackBerry for work, but I am not a phone-obsessed person. It's a tool for me, not a lifestyle. I have had daydreams about me using a hammer on it, that and every other computer in the house. Her stories have been confusing to say the least. I know him, he's not a friend, but I saw him at church for 4 years. She wants me to believe that he is suicidal, and she was pursuing him even after I discovered. But the reality I have gotten from the emails I read she thought she deleted is that she did try to break it off after I discovered. But he just poured on the coals to the fire. He threatened to X himself. He talked about how he was throwing out or deleting all the things she shared with him. Every little comment was something to leverage her. It's very sickening to read. I say all that to say this. She wants me to believe that she led him astray, that he is a good and caring man, and that I should forgive him. Yeah, that's not going to happen anytime soon. In fact, the greatest blessing is that he lives so far away and out of my reach. The other affair was with the last boyfriend she had before we met. They reconnected 2 years ago, before the affair with the pastor, and again in the fall last year. During the affair with the pastor, from the limited amount of info I have, it seems to have been dirty online calls, pictures back and forth. This amazes me, as my wife has never before even alluded to an interest in these types of things. The pastor doesn't know about it, only she and I do. I have located the man's wife's work address and am only too tempted to send her the Facebook chat log I forwarded to myself while logged on to her account. I also have the idea that sending it to the pastor isn't too shabby of an idea. I am in my early 40s, my wife is in her late 40s, to answer the age debate. Here is my only hang-up with exposing the affair. If my wife has truly severed all contact and is working to rebuild our marriage, exposing the truth means it will get out in our little hometown. This man was one of the pastors of our church and has recently started going back there. His oldest daughter also attends there. He is now working as a used car salesman. He is no longer pastoring. It's not that I fear losing my wife and our 10 years of marriage, although it would break my heart. Again, it's that I really don't know what the truth is. I have already prepared packets of emails, videos, pictures of cards they sent each other, toys, for mailing to his kids should I ever find them in contact again. It's that my wife is smart enough, and I am now also, to realize that the internet is wide open. She can create an alternate email address in Facebook or Skype in minutes and be back up and running. So, I suppose the keylogger idea is the only route to go. Can that also be done on a smartphone? She has volunteered to get a phone that does phone and text only with no internet access. And I believe that is where we are going next. I simply can't live this life of high anxiety. I look in her eyes, and she says the things she used to say to me, and I want desperately to believe. I want this to go away and never to have to introduce my children to this reality I live in. But the reality is, and some have said it here, she lied to me for over 5 years and I had not one clue. I look back and all the signs were there, but I thought, no, not my wife. But she could lie to me now and I would still have no idea at all. I want too much to trust her, and the reality is I don't, and I shouldn't. I should mention, since January we have experienced the death of my wife's best friend, and a tornado destroyed our house. That's what exposed to me the affair was still going on. When cleaning out the house, there was no place to hide things anymore. I found the cards, the second cell phone she had purchased, all within a matter of days. What a mess. I just finished emailing back and forth with his oldest son. Turns out he was also cheated on by his wife, and so he sympathizes with me. He did say he and his sisters have a few questions, and while realizing that they were being lied to, they had no hope for the truth. He did ask me as a fellow Christian what were my motives. I am thinking hard about this, as my first answer would be to sever the link once and for all and drag the affair out into the light. But overall, beyond the fantasy about creating a hell for this man the likes of which he and my wife dumped on me, the answer should be closure. I am okay if our marriage fails because we couldn't work it out, but I am not okay if he is still working behind the scenes to destroy it. We have 3 grown kids, 21, 24, 26. The 2 youngest live with us still, although our middle child is getting married in October and will obviously move out then. He was home on DD-1 and I wasn't exactly quiet about things. I think he has some idea what is going on, but he has never asked, and I don't want to troll this out in front of the kids unless things don't work out. At that point they will need to be told the truth. To avoid the confusion, they are all my stepchildren. Their dad never seemed to want the job and I did, so we have always acted as if I was the dad and they have always treated me that way. I love them as much as any parent can, but yes, for the length of time we have been married, they are too old to be mine. Sorry, that question comes up a lot, so I thought I would head it off directly. I am and was prepared to leave on DD number 2. I had already told my wife I would stay and work things out with her as long as it was her and I when I found the email on her phone that morning. I walked into her room and dropped my ring and the phone on her nightstand and told her she must not have known how serious I was. She broke down and pleaded with me to stay. I forced her to open up her computer and we went through all of her accounts and wiped him from everywhere. I went through her phone and Skype account and recorded all the usernames and IDs I could find. That is how I discovered the online fling with the former boyfriend. I realize in many eyes, and perhaps my own at times, I appear like a chump, but there is a rational brain behind these sad eyes. I want to believe in her brain somewhere, confused by the drugs in the past year and the depression and the menopause hormonal spikes, that there is something left of the life we have built inside my wife's heart. But I am prepared emotionally like I wasn't 3 months ago. I have been up, down, angry, depressed, suicidal, sad, remorseful. Blamed myself. But in the end, I have come through most all of that to place where I just want to know for sure, is it over? And I know that answer for now at least can't come from my wife. Because she has lied to me for so long, even after discovery, that her word means nothing to me until confirmed. I like the MC we are seeing, but I had the impression that we would be at this for months at least, and perhaps years. Her statement last session seems to say to me that the bad stuff is behind us. I need to learn to trust my wife again. And we are able to work the rest of this out on our own. Not really the route I thought this would take. 30 days post DD number 2. Update. I received emails back from both the daughter and the son. The daughter, who has a long history of trying to destroy her father by various means, requested I send her all of the evidence I collected. I told her I would not, knowing how she would love to use it, but told her I would answer any questions she asked me truthfully. I know this may seem a bit lame on my part, but that stuff can only harm my wife's reputation back home. And if we are truly reconciling, I don't want to harm the process. I will, however, spread it far and wide if I find her in contact with the other man even one more time. But at present I am holding it in reserve in case of reconnect or divorce. I may owe this gal for exposing the affair, but knowing her and all of the problems she has caused in our town and church, my feeling is she would just like another opportunity to stick one to daddy. And I don't want any part of that. The son baffled me with his response. At first, he wrote me back and said he had some questions he would like answered and empathized with me a great deal as he had gone through infidelity with his own wife. He said he would think about it for a few days and get back to me. His comment was that he was disappointed that his dad had lied to him, but it was not unexpected in his knowledge of how affair exposures go. 2 days later he emailed me back and said he had changed his mind and did not want to know anything. He was more focused on his mother's impending passing from Alzheimer's and did not think he wanted to add to that. I spoke to my wife last week regarding my low trust level with her and the internet. We discussed the phone and the computers at length. She handed over her 2 old iPhones and the non-functional laptop. She agreed to stay off the computer unless she was in my presence, or informed me that she would be online. Whenever she is on the phone, she tells me and shows me who she is texting. Whenever she leaves my presence and has the phone with her, she leaves the phone right in front of me before she goes. I have software downloaded to a jump drive and waiting on opportunity to install it on her laptops. I have been researching the same for her Windows smartphone, as well as monitoring her email and Facebook. She has another Facebook under her name on her original Facebook friends list, but it has been deactivated and I cannot find an email address that will open it. That with the drop phone she purchased in December shows me how far into the fog she was and makes me wonder right now if she is out of it totally. She isn't hiding the phone from me anymore and has committed to leaving it in the bedroom unless she needs to use it. And for a week it has gone well. She is no longer tied to it as she was before. Although truthfully, since DD-2 her use of the phone had dropped off to almost nothing, as well as her computer time. Taken together, it all makes me a little confused and wondering. It seems like everyone whose life was affected by this affair just seems to want to sweep it under the rug and say let's move on and forget it even happened. I don't need it dragged out into the street, but it baffles me how his kids, who were brought into this by his choice and lied to, don't seem to have any questions. Or is it just me? I am watching my wife very carefully right now. It's hard to gauge since my wife has always been one. A little closed off emotionally, as is most of her family too. Pretty cut and dried once she has made her mind up on things. I know her well enough even after this to know that even though she engaged in things that are widely inappropriate and hurtful, she still operates fundamentally the same way. When I say she wants to rug sweep, I don't just mean about the affair. I mean it's a way of life for her. She will rant and rave about a thing, and then once her mind is made up, boom, she doesn't want to discuss it or relive it again. I hold grudges, but my wife is better than even I can aspire to. So, in seeing that her behavior is returning to normal, her daily happiness level is going back up. Her efforts to contact me daily to tell me things and share things with me are up. It seems to me, in the old manner I had of trusting her, that it is over, that my trust level with her is at an all-time low. I have told her that our marriage and my trust of her in it should be her highest priority, and that if she wants them, she must take it as a priority to rebuild them. not wait for me to lead but take charge of it herself. She seems to be, but the ideas and experiences shared here make me wary of how typical her actions were before DD, after, and up until DD2. Update: I know there is at least part of this story that will rankle a few, but I have received valued advice here and have taken or not taken it as my head and my heart led me to do. July 4th was our 10-year anniversary, being a little over 60 days after DD-2. As you can imagine, I had mixed emotions, and more than a bit of painting on a happy face. As suggested, I ended the idea of renewing our wedding vows. Wife was not unhappy but seemed a bit confused about it. I told her it was too soon after the affair and that from my point of view my vows were intact. So, I told her what I wanted was a private time for the two of us, where we could share more about what our marriage meant to us now, and where we were going in the future. We spent the week at her parents' lake house, with the in-laws. Our kids are all in their 20s, so their lives were too busy to go with us. My wife shocked me a bit, as she usually doesn't go this deep emotionally with me or anyone else. She bought me a new wedding band I had expressed interest in some time back. She took off my old band and asked me to accept this new one, as the promise she made with the original had been broken by her. And she wanted to make me a new promise with the new band when I was ready to accept it and believe her that she meant it. We spent lots of time doing things we both enjoy at the lake, but one subject that came up repeatedly was a girls' cruise she takes every year with her mother, late 60s, and many of her canasta bridge club friends. Not exactly the partying crowd, as many of them are pushing 70s and 80s in age, but nonetheless travel away and without me. On the drive home I told her we should discuss it, because I was not inclined to let her go anywhere without me just yet, even though the trip is not until February. The discussion evolved into a lot of tears on her part, comments about the remorse and guilt she felt at betraying my trust and having to be babysat constantly. She expressed to me that she was doing everything she could think of to let me know how much she loved me, how much she was sorry for betraying our life and our love, and how much having that trust back in our marriage meant to her. The discussion turned to the affairs. I asked her if she wanted to fill me in on anything she had not told me or had previously omitted or glossed over, whether for fear of hurting me or simply to hide the truth from me. She started crying a lot and I could tell there was more. I just couldn't put my finger on it. I pulled out at a rest stop to smoke, and after much crying in the car she came out to talk. I continued to ask her some of the small things I had written off, like a Facebook private message from her former boyfriend, the father of our oldest, that was deleted 2 months ago. I noticed it, but at the time was leery about reading it. I also told her that I noticed he had left her a voicemail message on her old phone about the same time period, the week our house was hit in the tornado. I told her that I wasn't afraid of the truth, just afraid of living a lie with her, and that any more lies would result in the divorce I promised her after DD2. She looked at me and told me that he had written her to let her know he still had feelings for her, and that he wanted to know if she still had feelings for him. She told me that she had written back to him telling him we were together, and that was it, and deleted the message. This is before the software went in on her computer, so I have nothing more to go on. She says that they would talk sometimes, and that he had come to a big city 3 hours away years ago, but she had researched his hotel but never went to see him. He is married with children, she assured me, and I have seen some of their old love letters from the 80s to confirm that he physically abused her and she has no interest in him at all. He would never admit to being our son's father, even though they were in a long-term monogamous relationship, and never paid child support after he found out she was pregnant and dumped her. She claims that it caught her by surprise, and so she didn't really know if or how to discuss it with me. I imagine she was sending out the vibe and he picked up on it or something. We rehashed some of the things about her affair with the pastor and the online tryst she carried on a couple of times with another former boyfriend. Nothing I didn't already know, just trying to provide the atmosphere that at some point I would wish she could just paint the picture for me with no lies. I feel that she has made great strides there, but I know there is more. I am just not sure if it is anything of any great importance too, anything worth worrying about. I finished by telling her that now that I know, we will not survive if there is this place we cannot go in our relationship. We will not survive with secrets in our past or present. I have spent more time in prayer over this than I have cared to admit, most ashamedly because I have never went to God with anything as much as this. That hurts to admit, living most of my life as a Christian. I feel like God put me here in this life to create a life for this woman and our 3 amazing kids. And as much as it hurts from time to time, this recovery thing is almost as hard as the discovery thing. I have stopped short of telling my wife about this place, mostly because I think she would be mortified to know that our life is out here on the internet, and so is her big secret. But I have shared with her all of the insight I have gained here about truth, her stages of coming out of the fog, seeing the other man and the chances of success with him for what they truly are. And she has been in agreement with most all of it. Some parts needed some discussion to break down the walls. She seems truly happy here with me again, and we are spending more time together than any time perhaps except just after we were married. I am watching her for any signs. Email and Facebook are open to me. Nothing even remotely interesting, and those are on the software reports. I have not had an opportunity to put the software on her smartphone, but she leaves it in the bedroom or in plain sight at all times, and no longer carried it anywhere if I am not going with her. Comments: what kind of marriage do you really have if you keep her on a short chain? Sounds like you're doing all the work. How many D-days does she get? OP responds: in reality, once a spouse has done this to me, that complete trust I had for her is gone and can never be regained. The marriage that we had is lost and can never be regained. For the most part, what it had become I don't think either one of us wanted. But where I came to be a choice, stay or go. Except that my wife is imperfect and had made a tragic mistake and hurt me the way no one else could, or leave and try for a fresh start with someone else. I suppose the way I look at it is this: the past can't hurt us as long as it is pulled out into the light and exposed. As long as there is nothing more in the present and no contact is maintained, I am willing to forgive and help her work through the remains of our marriage and build a new one with her, rather than see the pattern of abuse and chaos that ruled her and the kids' early life continue. What I believe in and have no problem with trust but verify. Do I consider this latest revelation a DD3? No, I have found nothing to point me in that direction. I think she was sending out the vibe and this old boyfriend bit. But that was in the past, and she handled it, or so she says. Yes, I may be doing the heavy lifting right now, and perhaps I am just fencing her in. But if her remorse for what she did is true remorse, there will be nothing further. I have already set the bar for divorce if I see anything remotely suspicious, and she knows it. The ball is in her court, and so far, what I see is a person emerging from the fog and taking responsibility for her actions. It may not be in the way I would want her to, but she is doing it, and so I am not going to squash that effort. Did I think to get all the responses for the positive for what I am trying to lead us through? No. Heck, 6 months ago I would have called me a crazy fool. But this is that path I have chosen, sort of halfway in between extremes, I hope. My comment: what to show you guys the difference between a divorce and a R story. Seems like the divorce seem a lot easier compared to the R. Which path you think it's easier? Comment down, let me get a nap in before the next one.